Welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday. Welcome. Friday Junior it is, folks. Heat, how's it going? Q Bennett, Michael Haster, Alio, how's it going? Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much, Alio, with the tier 1 sub, kicking things off for 36 months. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Welcome. Mark my words, Mike Johnson's going to be a problem due to scary potential. Yeah, I'd say so. It's a rude gang anyways. Elder GOP, MAGA woman saying, shut up to reporters. When in a press conference? Not surprised. I mean, this is Republicans, right? It's not a good look to have an old lady defending like that, to be honest. Yeah. Not good, not great. All right, folks. So we have a few things to go through. They're not sending their best, folks. We have a few things to go through. So last night, for those of you that may or may not know, last night we had yet another mass incident. As far as we know, 18 people have died. The person is still at large. This happened in Maine. So if you are in Maine or know people in Maine, please tell them to stay safe. Yeah, it is horrible. Yeah, the Maine shooting. It's horrifying. And of course, nothing's gonna get done. I mean, 22. I mean, it's possible that by this time the count may have changed. I haven't checked any updates, but yeah, you might be right. The count may have gone up. No red flag laws, no universal background checks, nothing. So I mean, and of course, you know, we can talk about this ad nauseum, but this would be a perfect time. This would have been a perfect time for or a perfect application of a red flag law, right? The police have to catch the male shooter first. Yeah, but the point is that we should minimize these, right? Like the fact that this has been so normalized. I mean, how many of these incidents have we had? I mean, like really stop and think about it. The total count of mass shootings, depending on what you define as mass shootings, but just for all intents and purposes, I think we're all well aware of what that means. Is over 500. Yeah, a single life lost is enough for change to be necessary, but nothing is going to change. I have a feeling you're probably right. The Louisiana senator, yes, that's the new speaker. We'll talk about him. Don't worry. We'll talk about him. There will be no joking about this. Yeah, absolutely. This is not a joke. This is not. I mean, like even for like even dark humor. I can't even like I can't even say anything to any effect. Because at this point, like, I mean, how many times is it gonna happen? How many times is are we gonna have to read about this? Um, but yeah, yeah, over 500. Uh, oh, is it 500 people that have been killed and 487 shootings? Wow, maybe I got my statistic a little bit off. My bad. No, in 2023, it passed the 500 mark. Sorry. Sorry, yeah. Um, so I guess both statistics are right. I'll bring it up on the screen in a second. Yeah, it's definitely depressing work. Yeah, yeah, it is. It's very frustrating, right? Something might change if Stephen King spoke about it. He did. Yeah, I think he said something to the effect of this keeps happening. I forget his tweet. I vaguely like scrolled by. Um, but yeah. Yes, Mike Johnson is a ghoul. Welcome, Ground Level News. All right, let me bring some stuff up. Bernie is trending. Why? I saw that Christo-fascism is trending, and then I realized, oh, it's because of our speaker. Got it. All right. Yeah, so I looked it up, and yeah, 565. Man, these last couple of years have not been good, not been great, not good. So these are the statistics of people who have been killed or injured in a mass shooting of four or more. That's the way this article defines it. But I think it's safe to say that um, I think it's safe to say that it's definitely over 500. So yeah, not good, not great. Time to find a cave, folks. Yep. Just given the circumstances and situation we live in, and with the understanding that well, um, help isn't coming. What we can say is that please pay attention and please be safe. Um, I know it's horrifying that this is the world we live in. I mean, here, anyways. Um, it's not normal. It's not okay. But we should definitely, since we know that no one's gonna put any effort to try to address this, any meaningful effort to try to address this, please stay safe. Please pay attention. Situational awareness and all that. Just be safe. Trump's trending Petty Mason instead of Perry Mason, all versions. I don't know what that means. They're calling the new speaker MAGA Mike. That says it all. Nothing's going to happen or get done. Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. Welcome, Echo Wrestle Dragon. Yeah, we'll do a brief talk about MAGA Mike. yeah, the point being is that since we know that nothing is going to happen, nothing's going to get done, no one's coming to help us, no one's going to put an effort into meaningfully addressing this. Just become like practice situational awareness. Um, be safe, and as crappy as it sounds, like try to avoid crowded areas. I mean, like, what else is there to say, right?
Therefore, the Honorable Mike Johnson of the state of Louisiana, having received a majority of the votes cast, is duly elected Speaker of the House of Representatives for the 118th Congress.
After a couple of long, hard weeks, House Republicans have decided to grab hold of Johnson and ride him all the way to the finish line. That's right, House Republicans have elected Mike Johnson of Louisiana as Speaker in a unanimous vote, meaning that a lot of them had to swallow their pride and come together, which is surprising to me because when 8 other Republicans announced their candidacy for Speaker, I really expected Johnson to slip through the cracks. But to my surprise, he stood tall in a field of limp competitors. Now, unfortunately, his lovely wife Kelly, who's also the co-host of his Christian podcast Truth Be Told, couldn't make it, and he explains why she wasn't there.
This is so bizarre. This is so bizarre. A lot of hospitals and organizations offer stop the bleed classes for free. It's a good skill to have, 100%. And I would even take it a step further. You know, as crappy as the his situation is, consider having things that will help you should you do find yourself in that situation. I mean, just the act of putting, and it's very easy to just carry in your pocket, just the act of having a tourniquet. I mean, it's messed up that like we're even in the position to talk about these kind of things, but like just even having a tourniquet could potentially buy you or somebody else time should they find themselves or yourself in that situation. Spread it forward. Welcome. Yeah, standing O. I mean, unanimous. I am CPR certified. I should probably take some classes. I'm not gonna lie.
For this special moment.
She spent the last couple of weeks on her knees in prayer to the Lord, and she's a little worn out.
Damn, Kelly. Let's go.
That's the weirdest. I'm sorry, but like that is like the weirdest phrasing I've ever heard. My wife has been on her knees for weeks praying, so she's a little tired. Bro, really? I keep a first aid kit? Yep, same. I have one in my pocket. I have one in my pocket, and I have a I have a small kit in my pocket normally. You can get a concealed carry in Oregon. I have seen people where I am with guns. It's pretty terrifying. I'm trained in self-defense, but not medical help. I mean, like you don't need to be like hyper trained. You don't need to be hyper trained, but if you can like apply a tourniquet, if you can apply a tourniquet and just like learn the basics of stop the bleed, I mean you'll be fine. And it's like it's a lot of it is like common sense. Like you're not, you could learn how to pack wounds or whatever, or just use common sense as to how to apply pressure, because it's really all about pressure, and applying a tourniquet, especially one of those that are like made already, not to make one on the spot, but one that's already made. I mean, it's not that difficult. They teach about tourniquets. What they say is that it's really difficult to do the tourniquet properly because of how much force is actually required. Yeah, and like the thing is, you should have the appropriate tourniquet, because there are tourniquets that have the little windlass that you can use your hands and create leverage that even I can do. And just for reference, like I'm unironically very, very small, so I could do it as long as you have that windlass where you can apply leverage. It's actually not that difficult. It's very light. You know, it's a small thing you can carry in your pocket. I mean, it even has instructions on how to use it, and it's really not that difficult. Yeah, I mean, it's not a good scenario. It's not good, not great. Basically, every household in America should have a kit that includes these. Yeah, it's sad, but true. And you know, that's kind of the reason why all these Stop the Bleed classes have become a thing, especially in the last couple of years. Because that's not the first time I've heard about Stop the Bleed. It's basically literally just to treat, you know, gunshot wounds. It's that sad as it is to say. And if you buy a Stop the Bleed kit, most of it is just pressure, right? You have a pressure bandage. Normally something to pack wounds with, and a tourniquet, and the scissors to cut clothing and bandages. Yeah, check your state's red flag laws. This is the liberal response. Meanwhile, guns remain rampant. Yeah, I mean, like I'm saying this as a proactive measure, for people to take you know, action by themselves. But the reality is, like on a legislative level, I mean, I will state an easy truth. Logging out of work on time feels amazing. You know what? I agree. 100%. That does feel... You know what else feels amazing? Logging out of work on time on a Friday, knowing that you have a long weekend up ahead. That's me tomorrow. Okay? Hopefully we'll log out on time. But yeah, logging out on a Friday, knowing that you have a long weekend up ahead. Now that feels amazing. Effed up on so many levels that we even have to consider this. Yeah, I mean, I have stuff. I have stuff on me, and I have stuff on in the Jeep. I have stuff on me, and I have stuff on the Jeep because, unfortunately, this is a situation that can literally happen anywhere. I mean, how, you know, we've seen the statistics, right? This year alone, we've had what, 500 and something incidents, all different motives, all different locations. I mean, it can literally happen anywhere. I knew after Sandy Hook, when first graders were killed and they do nothing, that nothing will get done. Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened with Uvalde, right? You think that, like, you would think that seeing such a horrible incident would inspire some type of action, and for a moment it did, but that was immediately shut down. And in fact, the state legislators that even attempted to protest were kicked out. They were censured, kicked out. The Tennessee 3, or was it 3? Pretty sure it was 3. Sorry, it's what I'd miss. Oh yeah, last night another mass shooting happened, and the only good thing is that more young people in Congress, like Maxwell Frost. Yeah, But well, that may be one person. MAGA Mike controls the agenda. And how many people, even including Democrats, by the way, how many are actually willing to do something like a universal like red flag law, where somebody who has been interned in a mental health facility, probably shouldn't have access to guns, right? That's a simple one. That's an easy one to give an example, because that should have, if there was a red flag law into effect, that should have prevented somebody like that person from last night to obtain such weapons, right? Got food delivered. I'll be back. No problem. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Elections do have impacts. But in the meantime, I mean, just consider taking Stop the Bleed classes. Consider, and it doesn't really cost that much money. Consider carrying at least a tourniquet in your pocket. I think the most preventable cause of death or something like that in incidents like this are the massive loss of blood in a very short amount of time, and a tourniquet probably is the pretty good tool to have, and they're very light, they're very cheap, and by cheap I mean like they're about $30. It's about the same time we convince conservatives that red flag laws does not mean deleting the Second Amendment. Yeah, but like the problem is that like a lot of these extremists can't even be convinced to at least put some concessions forward for some common sense stuff, because like I would not be opposed to something like a red flag law to prevent somebody who's been institutionalized or I don't know, under investigation for domestic violence, which is a huge, literally a huge red flag when it comes to the propensity of violence. And of course, a firearm introduced into that scenario exponentially increases the likelihood that somebody gets hurt and or killed. So yeah, like a red flag law, I would not be against. But, a lot of these people, you can't even get them to discuss anything, like any type of solution that put forth. Like, okay, clearly this is a problem and this is happening. So what do we do? Well, it's the mental health. Okay, you think it's the mental health? Okay, how about we implement programs to have, universal health care that includes mental health, or a universal mental health program? No, that costs money. No, I'm not in favor of any type of social programs that would alleviate the proclaimed problem, that I'm proposing, right? Like, oh, well, it's the mental health. Okay, so then you would be in favor of, putting tax money into mental health? No. Okay. Conversation's over, right? What are you, some communist? You want mental health? You want mental health programs paid by tax dollars? And here's a follow-up question. If you think it's mental health, which granted there might be an aspect to this, why would you want to introduce firearms to the situation? Why wouldn't you then say, like, okay, maybe these people shouldn't have access to firearms, right? I mean, it's okay.
Imagine like walking in on your spouse and they're on their knees and they're out of breath and they're sweaty and you're like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm praying, honey. Come back in like 10 minutes. Like, okay, it's a little bit sus, but whatever. So the question is, how did we get to this point where this dick is elected, of all people? Well, before we get to that, I first want to go back to Monday where we left off with Republican Tom Emmer as the most notable candidate. I didn't call him the front runner because I knew then that there was no chance he was going to become speaker, but he was the most notable. And 90 minutes after he was officially nominated by House Republicans as speaker designate, Trump dropped the hammer on him, calling him a globalist rhino, and encouraged Republicans.
We talked about this. Phenomenal stuff. So he had no chance the moment like Daddy Trump didn't anoint him personally. No chance. There basically is a section of the population in greatest need of mental health. Yeah, and they would still be against it because it's tax dollars and that's like communism or something. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense.
Republicans to vote against him. So that, in combination with fears from his GOP colleagues that he doesn't hate gay people enough, ultimately led to his quick demise. And as CNN's Christy Wilson points out, he became speaker designate at 12:16 p.m. on Tuesday, but by 4:26 p.m., he already dropped out. Yeah. So needless to say,
that was fast, like 3 hours. Jesus.
His bid to be speaker ended very quickly, which was pretty predictable. Now, other candidates also quickly started to drop out, and a consensus started to quickly form around Johnson, with Ken Buck explaining why he was a good choice to CNN's Dana Bash.
Why Mike Johnson?
Guest.
You know, probably because he has the fewest enemies of anybody in the Republican
Well,
conference.
that's a ringing endorsement.
Well, it's the reality of where we are right now with 4-vote majority. Mike is one of those people who gets along with everybody, and he's well respected. And I think those two factors played a big role in this.
He's got just enough flavor of extremism without going around and being too bombastic about it, while not like threatening other lawmakers to vote for him like a mob boss like Jim Jordan. Yeah, that's what got him the gavel. Yeah, the socialist, Marxist, communist, Democrats, whatever.
So it's not necessarily a particular policy or relevant expertise. They chose him because he has the fewest enemies.
One of the biggest
Whoa.
Cool. Now, the question is, what are the reactions to this from Republicans? I'll tell you my reaction in a moment, but what do Republicans think after battling for weeks? Well, Matt Gaetz, who started this entire shitstorm, is pretty happy. In fact, he feels vindicated.
It is going to be a great moment for the House. And you know what? At the very end, when some people didn't know if they could still even bring back McCarthy, a few of them just left the room and didn't vote. And the swamp is on the run.
The swamp is on the run? What are you talking about, dude? Oh, man, phenomenal stuff. He hasn't made enough enemies in his own party yet. Yeah, the well-respected insurrectionist, right? Just enough amount of extremism, of denying elections, and basically calling women baby factories for the working class, essentially. Yeah, just enough extremism. Without threatening the other members of Congress. And he gets up for everyone. He reads his propaganda, and he's oh so right.
MAGA is ascendant, and if you don't think that moving from Kevin McCarthy to MAGA Mike Johnson...
MAGA Mike Johnson, okay. Also, this is pretty disturbing because, like, Matt Gaetz is right. Like, he's basically saying that, like, look, we don't have to hide it anymore. We won. That's what Matt Gaetz is saying. And he's right. That's freaking scary, dude. That's scary.
Shows the ascendance of this movement and where the power in the Republican Party truly lies, then you're not paying attention. But they are crying, they are hand-wringing and bedwetting over on K Street because we have an honorable, righteous...
Okay. But he's right in the sense that, like, look where the extremism is. Look where the extremism is. Second in line to the presidency, folks.
Righteous man who is about to take this position. He's going to do great things for the country.
So he thinks that Johnson's victory is proof that the MAGA movement is ascended. And I think he's correct, and you'll kind of see why.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure. Like, yeah, you see, like Mike Figueroa, not is basically on the same line of thought. Yeah, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. Gates lost his Twitch channel. Dude, I had more viewers than Matt Gates. I don't think that's a big deal to him.
Once you see who Mike Johnson is. But what are people like Mike Lawler, who was very critical of Gates, saying about Johnson? Well, here's what he said, and what a couple of other Republicans said last night when it became pretty clear that Johnson did have the votes needed to become Speaker.
You know, obviously, I did not support the removal of Kevin McCarthy. I think it was, arguably the stupidest move ever made in politics. But we have to move forward. And so we're going to rally around Mike Johnson and elect him Speaker tomorrow and get back to work.
It's a different situation now. There was a trust factor with leadership last time.
You guys are going to give him some leeway on that? Yeah, was it worth throwing out McCarthy for Johnson?
Well, look, I mean, that's not actually the question at this point. The question here is Mike Johnson the right guy at the right time? And I think he is.
So you can tell that there's still some bad blood there, but they've all found a candidate to settle for him.
Yeah, and also, think about it. Matt Gates was the one that started all this, and the end result of this is that they now have an extremist for the speakership. Matt Gates is right. They won. If anybody had any doubts about whether or not, like, the Republican Party is MAGA, I mean, those doubts should be already cleared, right? They are. There's no difference. Like, you can just call them Republicans. There's not even any point into distinguishing them and saying, like, oh, MAGA, whatever. No, they're just Republicans. That is the Republican Party. Gates has an uncertain future and won't be Florida governor. I doubt it. I don't know. Gates has a pretty good district. Like, if they kick him out for some reason, he's just going to run again and win. Gates has job security because of gerrymandering. He's going to be fine. Okay? The quiet-spoken extremist, right? Exactly.
Maybe they're not 100% happy, but they picked him. And unanimous consent for this caucus is pretty surprising, honestly. Now, the likely question on most of your minds is, who the hell is Mike Johnson? And I know that most liberals and leftists who are watching this probably aren't going to be satisfied with any Republican. Don't blame you. But understand that there is a spectrum of Republicans. So in the House, on one end of that spectrum, you have the more moderate economic conservative Republicans who focus disproportionately on tax cuts for corporations and deregulation. And on the other side of that spectrum, you have actual demons who pose a threat to democracy and require human blood for sustenance. Mike...
I'm gonna disagree with Mike because they're one and the same. Okay, they're one and the same. The what he's talking about is like the difference between MAGA and the regular moderate Republicans. It's the same. There's no point in distinguishing them because at the end of the day, like you said, at the end of the day, they'll come together and still vote for the extremism. They'll still support extremism. They all fell behind Donald Trump with no problems. They all supported his agenda. Even the moderate ones. Zero pushback on any of this. All the speaker nominees, all of them were election deniers, save one or two of them, and those weren't even considered. It was a non-starter. The moment Emmer became the designee, and Trump said no. Trump called him a globalist rhino. It's over. No matter what the moderates, like, it doesn't matter. And besides, even if the moderate Republicans disagree with the MAGA, the far right extremists, they don't really do anything about it at all. Especially when they had the chance, they never did anything about it. They just completely turned a blind eye, or maybe even privately agreed, or it doesn't matter. the outcome is the same. I can't really see or tell what's in each and every one of those minds, but the outcome is the same. So for all intents and purposes, they're all MAGA. This is the Republican Party. There's no point in calling one side, MAGA or whatever. It's all just the Republican Party. That's it. That's them. That's it. That's all there is to it.
Johnson represents all of that, the entire spectrum. He is the worst of the worst. He's essentially an amalgamation of every Republican. The so-called moderates, the fascists, the austerians, the populists. He is, I think, the worst case scenario, or about as close to the worst case scenario as you could get. Much worse than McCarthy, and certainly worse than Jim Jordan as well, arguably. And first and foremost, the main thing that you should know is that this man is an election denier.
We must vote to sustain objections to states of electors submitted by states that we genuinely believe clearly violated the Constitution in the presidential election of 2020.
So that was a snippet of him objecting to Arizona's slate of elections.
Yeah, so that in and of itself, given the fact that at the time that this was happening, it was very well known and has been repeatedly proven time after time after time that there's no basis. There's no basis to those accusations or allegations or suspicions that there was some widespread voter fraud, yada, yada, yada. There was no basis for any of that at the time that this was made. At the time this speech was made, from the beginning, this was all bullshit. And he was pushing it. That, that in my eyes, should have been immediately grounds for kicking this guy out of Congress, period. But here we are. Now he's second in line to the presidency. Phenomenal stuff. The GOP soon heard about everyone else laughing at them in the U.S. House, so they united. That's why insulting reporters and Trump in court is on uniting the GOP. I guess. But my point is that they're dangerous. Regardless if we're laughing at them. I mean, like, they're clowns. No doubts about it. But they're also incredibly dangerous. The spectrum is raving attention seekers to the ones who still accept there should be a quiet part left unsaid. Yeah. That's basically the division. The internal division is, the half that's saying, you gotta keep it down. Versus the ones who are like, why should we? Trump opened that door.
Electors in particular, but make no mistake about it, he went on to vote against certifying the 2020 election. But it gets so much worse because he's not just one of the many Republicans who voted against certifying the election. He actively promoted lies about the 2020 election. Take what he said about Georgia in this radio interview, for example.
I was on the floor of the House last night talking with my colleagues from Georgia, and they are so frustrated. They want to pull their hair out because they feel helpless in the matter, but they know that in Georgia, it really was rigged. It was set up for the Biden team to win.
So he's just straight up.
There is never any evidence of that, even at that time. Okay? So it's ludicrous. Ludicrous. All of these people that participated knowingly, because they have to know that all of this is BS. None of their arguments held in court. Where it mattered, their arguments never held up. There was never evidence to provide where it counted. There was never any evidence provided to any of their claims where it counted, and I think they know that. And all of those people that participated in that should have been removed from Congress, in my opinion. But
denying the results of the 2020 election. But it'd be a mistake to characterize him as just another election denier, because he was one of the ringleaders, as he put it in a tweet that he wrote on December 10th of 2020, proud to lead over 100 of my colleagues in filing an amicus brief to express our concern with the integrity of the 2020 election and our election system in the future. So he's not just an election denier, he also spread lies about the election, but believe it or not, it gets even worse. Now, let me explain why. So, do you all remember the infamous press conference that took place on November 19th of 2020 where Trump attorney Sidney Powell...
Yeah, the where she was going to release the Kraken, and now she's she pled guilty. She pled guilty and agreed to testify. That lady
falsely claimed that the software for Dominion voting machines were actually engineered in Venezuela at the direction of Hugo Chavez. Well, here's what Mike Johnson said just a couple of days before that press conference took place.
In every election in American history, there's some small element of fraud, irregularity.
Yeah, by the way, that small element is literally almost a statistical zero. Like, for all intents and purposes, it's statistical zero. It's like 0.00000, like whatever. It doesn't matter. Hello, person that seems to have been banned in several places, but she also said that she is being coerced and forced to plead guilty. No, she wasn't. She could have just gone through the trial. And fought. If she really believed that she had a chance, you can say that if you want. You can perform whatever Olympic levels of mental gymnastics that you need, but yeah, she is full of it, like full of bullshit. Okay. Anyways, the point being is that yeah, she pled guilty because she knows. Yeah, she pled guilty because she knows. Anyways.
Error. We just know that. You just accept that that's the case. But when you have it on a broad scale, when you have,
Actually, no, they are right. You mean she's the one that said that? Is that what you're saying? She is saying that she's being coerced. Oh, okay. Yeah, reading comprehension, okay? It's a thing. You can ignore me then. Let me find the link. Okay, I believe them, though. I believe them.
A software system that is used all around the country that is suspect because it came from Hugo Chavez's Venezuela. When you have testimonials of people like this, but in large numbers, it begs to be litigated and investigated. And the problem is,
yeah, given the fact that like there's been a lot of trolls that have known to be messing around. Yeah, it happens. So that's an L on my part. I will hold the L because I couldn't read. Okay, that's my L.
Exceedingly difficult to do that in a 45-day time window. And that's the problem that we're up against, and that's why the president is so frustrated, and that's why so many 71, 73 million Americans around the country feel like that the election was stolen from them.
Now, I'm assuming that he laughed after saying that the software came from Venezuela because it was such an idiotic comment to say, he couldn't possibly say it with a straight face. But just let that sink in for a moment.
Yeah, he knows. All these people know. Okay, like there might be a couple of like believers, like Mike, the pillow guy. There might be a couple of true believers. There might be a couple of true believers, but yeah.
The Inflation Reduction Act is cutting costs for work.
Sidney Powell, as we all know, accepted her plea deal formally last.
Oh wait, yeah, we already have this this video queued. That's hilarious. Yeah, we got this video queued. Don't worry, we'll get to it next. Oh man, so that's what that's about. Okay, don't worry, Echo Resto Dragon. We got it on cue. I didn't even notice. All right.
One of the most outrageous lies told about the 2020 election was made by him before it was made by Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell, the Trump attorney who pled guilty over her.
Now, also to be fair, it is very possible that these people have already been in communication beforehand. So, yeah, it might not mean anything that he said it before she made the egregious like press conference claim, it may be the case that these people have been talking back and forth way prior beforehand. Who knows?
Efforts to overturn the 2020 election, whose own attorneys claimed that her election lies were so outrageous that, quote, reasonable people would not take them seriously, but Mike Johnson said that shit first. So the question is, did Sidney Powell get the idea from him? Are there going to be any consequences for him?
No, probably not. And yeah, they probably just talked to each other beforehand or during this whole, nonsense.
I mean, she's going to be on probation, but he gets to become speaker? Seems a little bit weird, don't you think? Now, the question is, what do Republicans have to say about his election denialism? Well, don't bother asking, because this was the response from House Republicans when a reporter tried to ask.
Oh, wait a minute. I think we're closing in on what you were saying. Alio, is this the clip? Is this the clip about the lady? Man, we're making it full circle today. Look at that. We're tying up everything all nice and neat. In a bow tie.
Ask.
Mr. Johnson, you helped lead the efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. Will you
Like, I love how they don't even attempt to like address it. They just like immediately melt. They just immediately melt. That's wild. That's wild that this is a response to like an actual legitimate question. Instead of addressing the accusation or the topic.
All right, then. I guess they're not concerned. Now,
Yeah, like, also, that's a good point. That's a good point. Like, instead of, like, actually addressing that and being like, you know what? Yeah. It was kind of a wild time a couple of years ago, right? Yeah, no, they're not, they can't address that. They can't. They say young people have no manners, true.
Lady who yelled shut up was actually Congresswoman Virginia Fox, who also voted to overturn the results of the 2020 election. But she wasn't the only Republican to hiss at the reporter for daring to ask a very reasonable question, because right now the GOP caucus doesn't want to hear any of this. There's election deniers and non-election deniers, but right now,
no, they again, for all intents and purposes, like, it's the same. If you can't if you can't stand up and be like, hey, this is wrong, then you're just an accomplice. It's all the same. The outcome is the same. The Republican Party as a whole it engages in this behavior. Okay, so to say like, oh well, there's non-election deniers. Well, they didn't do jack, did they? Okay. Did you notice how Johnson was the eye of that response hurricane? Yeah, it was like a movie. Like I said earlier, it's not a good look to have grannies booing down the media for you. Yep. That old expression, breaking their arm, patting themselves on the back.
There's a moment of harmony, and they don't want a question about our democracy to get in the way of that. So, they were very outraged at the idea that a reporter would dare ask this question. But it's a pretty important question, don't you think? Now, let's not...
Absolutely. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how could they be so triggered about this question to the second in line for the presidency? An election denier, a architect of, and propagator of this bullshit-ass lie that's still going on till this day. 2023, there are a significant portion of the population that believes truly that the election was rigged, stolen, messed with. It's disturbing. And they elected him speaker. So what does that say about the party, right? It means that they're all election deniers. They all fell behind this guy. None of them expressed any concern Because again, like, you know, all of this like anti-democratic, you know, thinking and process happens, you know, very easily when you don't believe in bodily autonomy, right? When you make comments like the comments that Mike Johnson has said about abortion, the bottom line is that you don't believe in bodily autonomy, and if you don't believe fundamentally in bodily autonomy, another way of putting it, or the ultimate like ground level of freedom, then like all bets are off, right? Democracy, what is that? This much alt-reality acceptance should be a crime, or at least immediately disqualify you from having any power. I don't know if it should be a crime. Like, listen, if you want to like live in an alternate reality, that's on you. But I agree that you should not be anywhere near power. You should not be any. I mean, I don't know if you heard before you came in, but I literally said that all these people that participated and propagated all this should not be in Congress. They should have been removed from Congress. And I still stand by that. They shouldn't be Congress people. They shouldn't be senators. But instead, the Republican Party made them committee chair people, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. They made them committee chair people. The Republican Party made them, you know, speaker. Yeah. Look at it from their point of view. The GOP wants to worship Trump. Well, yeah, I mean, well, I think it's because Trump has captured so much of the party that they don't really have a choice. So they can't really go against Trump, whether they agree with him, whether they don't, whether they like him, whether they hate him. It's all irrelevant. They're still enacting the same outcomes. But yeah, I agree the crime is too far, but no chance should alternative reality be acceptable as office holders. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, all those people should have been removed from office. I mean, like this is unacceptable. They're election deniers, partly because they can't accept not to be the winners, partly because they're good people must win and they're good people, and partly because of power, literally at any price. I mean, maybe, although I'd be willing to put more stock in that whole power at any price. And it really goes to show that like these people fundamentally do not believe in democracy, right? Because the moment it becomes an obstacle, that's a problem. They didn't care. They talked all about democracy and how beautiful it is and how freedom and all this other nonsense when they win elections, right? It's a beautiful day for our democracy, blah, 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 blah. Imagine they alter it to anyone who is a part of the Free Palestine movement is red flagged and cannot sit. You know what? You might, you know what? I see that. I see that. Maybe if it was written in a way that yeah, I don't know. Maybe because like the concept works in my mind, but yeah, I think you present a good point. Maybe I mean, like, if you obstruct and if you obstruct and propagate like lies about like our electoral systems and are actively trying to break those type of institutions, like as whatever little thin veneer, the little thin veil of democratic systems that we do have, I think that should automatically disqualify you. But yeah, that would be kind of messed up if we find ourselves in a situation where you're trying to just actually do the right thing, and fight for, like, I don't know, just basic like human writes, proven disinformation shared on social media, and often, yes, there should be grounds for an appeal. Maybe, maybe like that. Grounds for impeachment, maybe that you can write it that way. It's a dangerous case of repeat a lie long enough that often it becomes the truth. Yeah. I mean, the Trump team understands this. They called it They literally, when people were calling them out on this shit, they're like, lies, bro. They're alternative facts. Like, it was over. GG. Okay. That was it. That was it right there. That was the turning point, right? Like, bro, what are you talking about? Lies? No, man. They're alternative facts, dude.
Not pretend like the only bad thing about Mike Johnson is his election denialism, because he's seemingly a Christian nationalist with genocidal anti-LGBTQ plus policy positions, and unsurprisingly, he also happens to be a forced birther who's currently co-sponsoring 3 different pieces of legislation that would ban abortion nationwide.
Yeah, so this goes back to my point. If you fundamentally don't believe in the right to bodily autonomy, because he does not, I don't give a shit. He does not. He does not believe in the right to bodily autonomy. Period. He doesn't. That is like the ultimate like basis of freedom. That is the ultimate basis of freedom, right? The right to bodily autonomy. That I can say, you know what? I'm gonna do this to my body. I'm a grown adult. I can get like 10,000 tattoos if I want. Nothing, like, no one should be able to stop me from being able to do whatever it is that I want with my body, right? That's like the ultimate basis, like ground zero of like freedom, right? If you don't believe if you don't believe in that, all bets are off. And this kind of illustrates that point.
And when a total abortion ban went into effect in his state of Louisiana last year, he celebrated on Twitter and reminded doctors that they could be sentenced up to 10 years of hard labor and given a fine of up to $100,000 if they performed an abortion in his state. And he recently stated that...
Jesus, 10 years of hard labor. Where have I seen that before? Where have I seen that before? Oh, yeah. He's a hyper-Christian conservative lawyer who teaches government at Liberty University. And believes that the Bible is literal historical truth. Yes, and he also believes that the founding fathers based our country and whatever based on the morals of the Bible. Yeah.
His forced birth position was necessary to produce more people to help pay for Social Security. He said this. Listen.
Roe v. Wade gave constitutional cover to the elective killing of unborn children in America. Period. You think about the implications of that on the economy. We're all struggling here to cover the bases of Social Security and...
No. I mean, Bro, you're seriously talking about struggling to cover Social Security and Medicare when you literally like rubber stamp any like defense spending that costs like hundreds of billions of dollars and only gets higher and higher each year? Bro, what are you talking about it? What are you talking about? Just providing devil's advocate towards a plausible solution to work it out. No, I get you. I get you. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. We're all struggling, says person who makes like what five-figure salary. I went to a private university where they taught all this. I know it's homeschooled using a conservative curriculum. This is dangerous shit. Yeah, 100%. This is cult shit. This is cult shit. I hate Matt Walsh. She's nearly as cowardly as you can get while being an apologist. Yeah, Matt Walsh is a lot of things. Like, do I need to bring out the clip of Janet Yellen saying that we can absolutely afford, like, you know, 2 wars at the same time? Meanwhile, this freaking ghoul is literally talking about, like, how we need, how, like, capitalists need more future workers. Hold on. Ask a Physicist, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. Yes, it is. Keep the money printer going.
What this all means. Paul Tudor Jones, the famed investor, was on CNBC this week, and he said, "This is the most threatening and challenging geopolitical environment that I've ever seen. At the same time, the US is in its weakest fiscal position since World War II, with debt to GDP at 122%. Can America, can the West afford another war at this time?"
I think the answer is absolutely. America can certainly afford to stand with Israel and to support Israel's military.
Not maybe, not probably. She used the word absolutely. Absolutely. As in no question. No question about it. It was a blank check, dude. What? 2 wars? Make it 3. I don't care. America always has money for war. What are you talking about, reporter, sir? Phenomenal stuff. Meanwhile, this freaking ghoul is like arguing or groveling about like how we don't have enough to cover Medicare and Social Security. Bro, okay, sure, dude, sure.
Medicare and Medicaid and all the rest. If we had all those able-bodied workers in the economy, we wouldn't be going upside down and toppling over like this. Listen,
the gentleman.
I will not yield. I will not. Roe was a terrible corruption of America's constitutional jurisprudence.
Yeah. Now, on the subject of Social Security.
Jesus. There's really no other, like, reaction to that, right? Just, yeah. I mean, what else is there to say? The dude said it, right? Dude speaks for himself.
He's also expressed interest in cutting it.
It's difficult as somebody dedicated to principles of limited government to see the ballooning out of the deficit and a complete abandonment of entitlement reform. Your thoughts? We'll start with Mike and we'll go to Mark.
We have to get back to it as a number one priority. The CBO says that entitlement spending, which they define as Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, interest on the debt, right? Those 4 obligations we eclipse GDP in, a dozen years or something. I mean, this is not, this can no longer be kicked down the road. You can't wait 8 years to address this. It has to happen yesterday. So we have to have our hand at the wheel and do this. We are completely derelict in our duty. We're rearranging furniture on the Titanic if we don't get this problem under control.
So one way to address it isn't to lift the cap on taxable income. Let's just force women to have more babies. Also, let's cut it. Amazing.
Yeah. Congress is reducing their payer benefits? Not a chance. When has he? Not a shot. Yeah, I mean, like Bernie, by the way, already gave the solution, which is exactly that: raise the taxable cap. People with wombs are just 3D printers of tiny humans. Exactly. That's all there is to it. I mean, they're actually wait no they're two they're two-pronged purpose, right? Sandwiches and babies, right? Did I get it right?
But there's more, because he also
womb peeps. So GOP MAGA is hypocritical. I mean, yeah, they don't care though. Hypocrisy abounds. Okay, hypocrisy doesn't really matter to these people. As you literally saw the the reaction when they asked this guy about like the election stuff, right? Hypocrisy. They are incapable of showing any shame. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. So yeah, of course, they're hypocritical in like 10,000 different ways, right? Like they call themselves pro-life, but have absolutely no willingness to actually preserve life, to make life better for people. There's nothing pro-life about any of their positions, yet they call themselves pro-life. Like, the hypocrisy is like, we can sit here and do like an entire week's worth of streams about like the hypocritical positions, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like a necessary factor for fascist ideology is to consistently be able to hold these type of contradicting and hypocritical positions that seem to just not make sense. It's necessary. The incoherent positions are a necessary factor here for fascist ideology to even be where it is at this point in time. Yeah, like that. It's necessary. It's kind of par for the course. You need to be able to hold two completely contradictory positions, despite like everybody knows what the truth is. Yeah, these people. Yeah, they completely. It's par for the course. It's actually necessary.
Also authored the Stop Sexualizing Children Act of 2022, aka the national version of Florida's Don't Say Gay bill, which would censor all LGBTQ plus content in classrooms and even go as far as to designate quote-unquote transgenderism as sexually orientated content on par with porn, as Alejandro Caraballo points out.
That's wild. That's wild. The fact that like, so basically, you want to put like what transgenderism, whatever that is. You mean just trans people, like, like human beings? Is that what you're saying? In the same category as quote porn? That's wild. I've heard that Israeli tanks are entering Gaza. Can you confirm? Is there a Gaza stream available? I am not sure. I'm not sure, but I do know that operations that the Israeli military is moving into the north side of Gaza. I don't know if that means that the full invasion has kicked off, but I know that they've moved equipment inside Gaza, including tanks, armored bulldozers, ? And some other stuff, and soldiers. So yes, I believe there have been reports of that and video of that. But I'm sure that in the next couple of days we'll know how that goes. Shows how sick and twisted their minds is. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Here's a question. Why did they call it the Stop Sexualizing Kids Act? That's weird, man. Check. Every time. So we've gone over. We've gone over this before. Every time you have these type of like super like fervent like anti-groomer, like all these type of like heavily like LGBTQ heavily anti-LGBTQ people like Mike Johnson go really hard on this issue. It turns out they may or may not have some closets, some skeletons in their closets. So that's concerning. Because these people always end up either being the groomers or defending them. It always ends up being the case. It's actually scary how accurate that has turned out to be. So yeah, check this dude's hard drives. I'm just saying. They have entered North Gaza. Okay, but like for real, or like are they just getting ready?
Which means that exposing kids 10 and under to, quote, transgenderism would be banned, which in practice could result in the mass firing of trans teachers, trans pediatricians, trans social workers, and so on. I don't know how this policy would even be enforceable, but trans existence would be classified as inherently sexual under this legislation that he supports.
Right, which is really weird because, like, that's not a sexuality. That's interesting. It kind of gives you a little bit of a window into this guy's mind, right? Because he sees it as sexual. I wonder what this guy's internet history is. Just a thought. They don't get it. They think that LGBTQ don't live normal lives like everyone else. Oh no, I think this dude's telling us a little more than he wants to let on. Because like, why would you think that transgenderism, or which is really weird. But anyways, why would you think that trans people are inherently sexual? You think that. Why? Are we sure it will pass? Doubt it, because of the Senate. Wait until these representatives attend Mardi Gras. Yep.
Now, on top of that, during his tenure as an attorney for the ADF, he supported the criminalization of homosexuality and wrote editorials calling it dangerous and claimed that it could lead to pedophilia and also the end of democracy, which is ironic given his lack of support for democracy itself.
That's wild. That's wild, dude. Like, in real time, every accusation is just a confession, folks. All right? I'm calling it. This guy has skeletons in his closet. I'm calling it. Every accusation is just a confession, right? Dude really thinks that, like, what, gay people are going to destroy the entire democratic system? Good sir, did you know what your party was doing? Okay. Yeah, I'm calling it. This dude probably has skeletons in his closet. All right, that's what I'm gonna go with. That's my guess.
Given that he voted to overturn the 2020 election, but on top of that, he unsurprisingly is also against same-sex marriage in the year 2023. Oh, and he also thinks that weed is a gateway drug, so he's not very bright. And on top of that, he's a climate denier, and he's skeptical of the COVID vaccines, to put it charitably.
Yeah.
And he's just an unhinged lunatic overall who doesn't represent people named Mike very well. As a Mike, I denounce this Mike, and all other Mikes should as well. So in the end, I think it was clear that Matt Gaetz was vindicated. He got what he wanted. He wanted a more conservative speaker than Kevin McCarthy, and he got it. But regardless of what you think about him, he is the new speaker now. We're stuck with him, and the saga is officially over. And his first test is coming up in November, when the government is set to shut down on the 17th unless it gets more funding. So be on the lookout for that. He's saying that the first order of business is to give money to Israel so they can continue their genocide against Palestinians. So he seems like a really nice guy overall. But
he seems like a really nice guy overall. Trump and MAGA are big red flags, meaning danger. But yeah, I mean, it's the GOP. Yeah, of course. 100%.
I just have to admit that I am a little bit disappointed that this entire debacle is over, because I did find the GOP's dysfunction a really nice distraction from all the other terrible things happening in the world right now. But I think that the best case scenario is that he pisses off Republicans in some way in the lead up to the next government shutdown and we get a season 2 of Speaker Roulette. But I mean, until then, we'll just have to sit back and watch America get fucked by Johnson.
Yep, true. He has a perfect record voting against all forms of legal abortion, 100%. And in fact, it's more than that. He wants a national ban. He supports a national ban. Has shown that that he's willing to co-sponsor legislation like this. And it's no surprise that he doesn't, not only does he not want abortion, but he doesn't want gay marriage or anything like that. He wants to make sure that trans people are completely eliminated from the public space. And all of this comes from like the concept that if you don't believe fundamentally in the right to bodily autonomy, all bets are off. All bets are off. Let the state decide, says the small government. Says the small government Republican Party. Right now, governors have executive orders until the GOP or state Supreme Court rule for SCOTUS. Yeah, but that's the problem, right? Like, under no circumstance should like a human right be up to the states or legislated or like be debated, right? The right to bodily autonomy isn't something that should be up to the states. It should be a federal, like across the board, like everybody has a fundamental right to bodily autonomy, period, full stop. There's no arguing about this. That's the problem. All right. All right, Echo Rest the Dragon.
Sidney
we're
Powell,
there.
as we all know, accepted her plea deal formally last Thursday, so it's been a week. And in the week since accepting that plea deal...
in the week that she has accepted this plea deal, has she released the Kraken? Sometimes states can lead with progressive legislation such as marriage equality. Yeah, no, that's fine. It should, if you're making a vehicle for increasing if you're being a vehicle for increasing more rights, that's a good thing. It should still be like a federal, like no questions asked. Everybody should have the right to marry whoever they want, right? Like two adults, doesn't matter whether cis or not, should be able to marry, right? Like this is just like a universal like concept of like, hey, I want to make this decision with my partner. Like the state should not be involved in any of this. But yeah, I mean sometimes that's the case, that a single state may become a vehicle for expansion of rights, but I'm just saying that it should be federal. And that states shouldn't have the option of cutting off people from rights like the right to bodily autonomy, the right to choose. That's all. Apparently, there's a Hamas and Iranian delegation going to Moscow to get assistance negotiating a hostage release. Ceasefire facts are fuzzy. The only thing 100% certain are Iranians are going on an unofficial trip to Moscow. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think. I don't think Israel's interested in the ceasefire. I don't think they're interested in the ceasefire.
Sidney Powell has not only gotten on her own personal social media websites and, put out more lies about the 2020 election, but now the Dark Money Political Action Committee that she runs, the committee that she has used to raise money to challenge the 2020 election results, that group is now pushing out information via their Substack alleging that Sidney Powell was somehow coerced or extorted to take a plea deal from Fani Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney. Now, that group, of course, is Defending the Republic, and on their Substack, they posted this big thing that linked to other articles. There's no name, by the way, on the Defending the Republic Substack post, so we don't know who wrote it. Don't know if it was Sidney Powell or just somebody that works for the Defending the Republic group, but it is Sidney Powell's group, and that's what's important, right? She is at the top of the body of this beast. So, they've been putting out a post on their Substack that they've then promoted through their social media. The Substack post, one of it refers to a Federalist article that says, quote, Willis basically extorted a guilty plea from Powell. Then it cites another one from Epoch Times that quotes Trump's attorney, Steve Sadow, who said Powell pleaded guilty only because of pressure from Willis. Now, this is Sidney Powell's groups putting this information out there. Granted, it's information from other sources, but they have collected it, condensed it, and pushed it out to their people. And again, it's a group that Sidney Powell's in charge of. Whether or not she's the one writing this doesn't matter, because it is her group that is pushing the words of other people, alleging that she was extorted to take this plea deal. Now, last Thursday, when she stood up in that court, she said in court under oath that I am voluntarily making this choice to accept the plea deal. Now, there's a funny thing about...
Yeah, so, whether... Oh, boy. Yeah, this gets really convoluted, because it could be the case that she actually is still a true believer and is using her organization or whatever as a proxy. But... oh boy, that's not going to matter if she's going to be forced to testify under oath. Part of that plea deal is going to be, part of that plea deal is to testify truthfully. So, yeah. Yeah, Ground News is pretty good.
Plea deals, folks. And I'm sure anybody who's been paying attention to the Hunter Biden stuff understands this. Plea deals can go away like that. There's all kinds of conditions. Always. And there's even conditions that aren't necessarily in writing. Prosecutors could just decide, you know what? I don't like this. I've decided I'm going to revoke the plea deal. And Sidney Powell is now at risk of having that happen by having her group, or allowing her group, or not paying attention to the fact that her group is pushing out fake information alleging that she was extorted to accept this plea deal.
Yeah, because like that, actually, yeah, I think I understand what Farron is talking about. I think that could actually be interpreted, or I guess possibly a scenario could be that the prosecution interprets this as an act by her organization, which, I mean, is headed by her, as a way, as acting in bad faith, and your plea deal might be revoked because, like, how am I supposed to trust your testimony? How am I supposed to trust that you're going to testify truthfully if you're out here spreading bullshit after you said that you're going to testify truthfully? That's the first thing officially to ask AI should be filtering bullshit from actual really real facts. Oof. Anyone familiar with pop-up video? We could do that just real time with politicians. Pop-up video? Okay, you lost me on that one. You're gonna have to refresh my memory on that reference.
That kind of seems like the thing to me that would cause prosecutors, Fani Willis, to be like, hold up. Your group is going to claim I extorted you? You know what? That plea deal, that no prison deal that we have with you, that's gone bye-bye. I'll see you at trial next week. Because let's not forget, the trial was going to begin the day after Sidney Powell took that plea deal. So if her plea deal is revoked, we're talking about going to trial probably in about a week or two. And I think at this point that Willis really has no choice. If you're going to claim, or if you're going to hype up claims that you were extorted into accepting the plea deal, then the plea deal goes away for good. You don't get it. We'll take you to court. We'll send you to jail for a minimum of 5 years. You want to keep pushing these fake claims? We'll fight back just as hard. That is what Fani Willis needs to do. That is what I hope happens. And at this point, Willis already has enough other people that have flipped and more people who are likely going to flip. So she doesn't even need Powell. So screw it. Take her ass to court. Prosecutor.
I mean, I do agree. I do agree that regardless, like, this is like pretty unacceptable. And especially in like the nature of the the court cases and whatnot. I think he's right. They should just bring her up to court. The Simulacra are like VH1 pop-up videos, 30-minute shows which would play music videos with pop-up bubbles of related trivia. Wow. Music videos play and they had a bunch of information pop up on the screen about the artist or song production or whatever. Huh. They also played an annoying cartoonish plop sound with every pop-up. Oh boy. Yeah. I'm gonna age myself a little bit, although I was around in the 90s, but I guess I didn't watch that.
And let her deal with the consequences of her group pushing this information. That is what needs to happen now. Hey, everyone.
Yep.
This is...
I agree. So, that being said, now that we've got that story set up, at least 6 Trump co-defendants in Georgia election interference case have talked plea deals, and the list most likely won't include Rudy Giuliani. At least, whoa, hey, stop it. At least 6 people were offered or discussed plea deals in the Fulton County, Georgia indictment related to former President Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Back when VH1 and MTV actually had music, not just like 24/7. Oh God, what's that show? It's the cringiest show ever. Ron Deerdeck. What's the name of that show? That literally that's the only thing that plays on VH1. God, that also tells you like how long I haven't watched freaking cable. I can age myself agier than you can age yourself. I remember when there was no commercials on cable. What? To be fair, like I didn't have cable back then. I didn't have cable back then. I had cable for like a couple of years. I remember, and I think it was like maybe during like high school, like end of high school, college kind of deal. Jeez, yeah. And by then, yeah, there's commercials. There are definitely commercials. I haven't had cable in 25 years. I haven't had cable since being by myself. AMC was 24/7 classic movies with no breaks or editing. Actually, you know what? I think I remember. I think I actually remember that. Although I do think that... Did they ever switch to ads? Because I remember having the AMC channel. History Channel was all black and white World War II stuff, not an alien in sight. Oh man, I got on the cusp of that right before like the aliens thing started taking over. I vaguely remember watching movies, a ton of movies on a couple of movie channels, especially when I was on break, especially when I was on like Christmas break, Thanksgiving break. We had satellite for a bit. It was okay in New Mexico because the weather is fair. Gotcha. No, we didn't have satellite. None of that. At least 6 people were offered or discussed plea deals in the Fulton County indictment related to former President Trump's efforts to overturn the election. Sources did not disclose the details of the plea deal, but they told CNN that pro-Trump lawyer Robert Cheeley received an offer and that former county election supervisor Misty Hampton and other former White House aide Michael Roman are in talks about potential deals. I remember that. How It's Made Modern Marvels. I remember that. Attorneys for Cheeley, Hampton, and Roman did not respond for a request to comment. Cheeley's attorney, Richard Rice, told CNN that the Fulton County District Attorney's Office made an offer some time ago and that it was declined. To say that we're currently in discussions with the DA's office would be an accurate representation of what's going on, said Rice. Rice told the outlet. A Fulton County grand jury indicted Trump and 18 co-defendants mid-August under RICO. Using that RICO law allows prosecutors to charge multiple people with various crimes under one case, arguing that those people committed the offenses as part of a single criminal enterprise or goal. So far, 4 people have accepted the plea deal. Georgia Attorney Kenneth Chesebro, ex-attorney, Trump attorneys Jenna Ellis and Sidney Powell, and the bail bondsman Scott Hall. Part of District Attorney Fannie Willis' strategy could be to get as many co-defendants as possible to flip on Trump to isolate him and others at the top of the indictment. Legal experts previously told The Insider that having a large group of co-defendants is beneficial because some of them could feel compelled to cooperate with investigators to get lighter sentences. Oh boy. Phenomenal stuff. That could very well be the case, but not necessarily, said Melissa Redmond, a former deputy district attorney at the Fulton County DA's office, told Insider it could be that the prosecution is wanting to resolve as many of these cases as possible. There's still value in a defendant admitting their role in the enterprise, even if they don't directly implicate anybody else. It means that it exists. It means that it exists. A Fulton County spokesperson did not respond for a request for comment. Prosecutors could offer more plea deals in the future, but that could depend on whether they can give something defendants are willing to take. So far, Redmond said that co-defendants who have accepted plea deals have received dismissals or had charges reduced. Powell pleaded guilty to 6 misdemeanor counts and received 6 years of probation. None of the co-defendants who have accepted deals have had to plead guilty to the racketeering charge or have received any prison time. And looking at more top co-defendants in the indictment, prosecutors might be less willing to dismiss charges. One source familiar with the DA's strategy told CNN that Rudy Giuliani, Trump's former personal attorney and one of his key co-defendants, has not received a plea deal. The closer you get to those at the top of the indictment, the state is not as willing to reduce or dismiss charges, even if they are willing to recommend probation. So someone like Giuliani may still get an offer, but it may require him to plead the indictment, including the RICO count. Ted Goodman, Giuliani's political advisor, told Insider in a statement that the only deal Giuliani is making is to tell the truth and accused Georgia prosecutors of being partisan Democrats focused on their own partisan political ambitions while keeping President Trump out of the White House. Nice meme. Breaking: Santos faces expulsion. Unfortunately, this link didn't give me the link, their article, but I'm pretty sure we can find it. Here we are. I wouldn't bet on Giuliani being aware of the truth at this point. New York Republicans to push ahead. This has just happened maybe 30 minutes ago with resolution to expel George Santos from the House. Some New York Republicans said they're going to push ahead with formal resolution to expel embattled Representative George Santos. Now that the House is open after its 3-week speaker stalemate. Santos' New York colleagues have announced a measure last week to boot him from Congress after federal prosecutors added new charges and allegations to a federal indictment that accuses Santos of committing fraud and conspiracy. Yeah, I mean, let me find a better link. No worries. We got it. Santos for what? Among Republicans, he has the highest integrity. True. True. Oh man. So next week we'll find out just how true that is, because I think that they're not gonna kick this guy out. I mean that's my bet right now, but I've been wrong. I've been wrong, but these guys are gonna introduce that resolution, but oh, here's a question. Is it just like a majority? Okay, so expulsion resolution requires 2/3 of the vote. The measure does not need to go through a time-consuming committee process to reach the floor. So basically, if all the Democrats vote and then a third, I think, of the Republicans, then it might happen. But I don't know. I just think that, as cynical as that is, I think that Republicans would opt to keep him because then their majority is even slimmer. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't give me excuse me if I don't trust the Republicans to have any type of principles. It would be more surprising if they do end up kicking him out, given like how slim their majority is, despite like them actually maybe potentially wanting to kick him out, but they won't because they need that majority. They need every vote they can get. But I suppose we'll see. The super strong French trained culinary chef and celebrity astronaut yoga instructor yeah, that one. Prosecutors also allege that Santos and ex-campaign treasurer Nancy Marks filed false financial reports to the FEC that inflated the campaign's fundraising numbers. Yeah, we went over this one here. Yeah. Well, we'll see. The House Ethics Committee has already launched a probe of Santos. One New York House Republican told CBS News that he expects a report on Santos from the Ethics Committee will be coming soon. Well, we'll see if that ends up happening. I'll be honest. I'll be more surprised if he gets booted. But who knows? Stranger things have happened, and I've been wrong before. Federal judge orders new congressional state legislative maps in Georgia. This is why it's so important to be able to have a checks and balances on this, and to have some type of recourse. A federal judge today ordered Georgia to draw new congressional and state legislative maps, showing that the state legislators improperly diluted the political power of black voters in establishing those boundaries following the 2020 census. The ruling by U.S. District Judge Steve Jones could result in Democrats securing an additional seat in the House from Georgia. Republicans currently hold 9 slots in the state's 14-member congressional delegation. The Peach State League, I mean, geez, just flipping enough, just flipping like a couple of houses here, a couple of seats here and there, is going to make or break the House elections and House makeup. The Peach State litigation is among several legal and political fights underway in nearly a dozen states that would determine whether GOP retains its narrow majority in the House after next year's election. In his ruling, Jones said that Georgia's Republican-controlled legislature had violated the Voting Rights Act, which is why they want to scale that back. The nation's landmark civil rights law and establishing district lines. The court recommends Georgia for the great strides that it has made to increase the political opportunities of black voters in the 58 years since the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Despite these great gains, the court determines that in certain areas of the state, the political process is not equally open to black voters. He noted that minorities accounted for the state's population growth in the past decade, but that the number of majority black congressional and legislative districts remained the same. Jones set a December 8th deadline for state lawmakers to craft new maps. A spokesperson for Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr, whose office has defended the legislature's maps in court, said the officials were reviewing Jones's orders. The Georgia decision comes one day after a Republican-controlled legislator in North Carolina approved a congressional map that would help the GOP flip at least 3 U.S. House seats now held by Democrats. Legal fights over congressional maps are pending from New York all the way to Utah. Coast to coast, folks. Let's face it, George Santos is not real name. Well, we have to just operate under that assumption that it is his real name. But is the Brazilian Donald Trump? No. That's Jair Bolsonaro. Okay. Like, they share similarities in the sense that, like, George Santos is, like, comically, like a con man to a comedic degree. Just like Trump is. He's literally just, like, is a con man from beginning to end, like a movie style type of con man. But other than that, yeah, no. All right, folks. We're getting close. Cutting in close, I should say. Ford and UAW reach potential deal. Ford Motor Company and the negotiators of the UAW union reached a labor deal yesterday pending union leadership approval. The deal would be the first settlement of strikes against Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis. More than 45,000 union members working at the Detroit 3 automakers have joined walkouts that began on September 15th. The deal is expected to provide a 25% wage hike throughout the life of the contract, including 11% to start. One of the sources said, including compounding and cost of living, nice, workers will get more than the 30% under the tentative deal. Nice. The agreement also reportedly reduced the time it takes New Yorkers to reach that maximum wage from 8 to 3 years. Nice. If agreed upon, the union deal will be one of the several major wins for the U.S. unions over the past few months, following agreements for double-digit pay raises for workers at parcel giant UPS, Hollywood writers, and health workers at Kaiser Permanente. In a video posted on Twitter, Sean Fain, the UAW president, said, "We reached a historic agreement." All right.
UAW family, I'm excited and honored to be joined today by Vice President Chuck Browning as we announce a major victory in the stand-up strike. Today, we reached a tentative agreement with Ford.
I'm getting hungry. Me too.
For months, we've said that record profits mean record contracts. And UAW family, our stand-up strike has delivered. What started at 3 plants at midnight on September 15th.
This guy is a true American hero, okay?
Has become a national movement. We knew we were getting close, but we also knew the companies needed a major push if we were going to make sure we got every penny possible in this agreement. So we took our strike to a new phase and hit the companies with maximum effect. On Monday, we called on our UAW family at Sterling Heights Assembly to stand up. That is Stellantis' biggest and most profitable plant. On Tuesday, our UAW family at Arlington Assembly answered the call, and they went out on strike, shutting down GM's biggest and most profitable plant.
Based.
Ford knew what was coming for them on Wednesday if we didn't get a deal. That was checkmate. On day 40 of the stand-up strike, we reached a historic agreement. As you know, in our union, the members are the highest authority. That means we have a process for rolling out the details of the agreement and making sure every member gets a chance to make an informed decision. So here are the next steps. First, we have reached a tentative agreement with Ford. Next, your elected leadership in the UAW National Ford Council is going to come to Detroit on Sunday, October 29th. They will vote on whether to send the agreement to the membership. If the council votes to approve the agreement, then that evening, we will be hosting a special Facebook Live with all of you to go through the deal in detail. Your national negotiators and staff are working tirelessly right now to get the highlighters, the change pages, and white books together. Our goal is to have those ready and available digitally for all of you to access online on Sunday night. Following the council vote and the Facebook Live, we'll hold regional meetings to walk through the agreement with local leadership. And then locals will hold informational meetings to get your questions answered.
Cool. I mean, like, that's pretty much like the gist. It's too bad it won't last long with the automakers needing to convert to EVs in the next 5 years or die. Well, I mean, they're still, like, going to need plants, right? They're still going to need plants. They're still going to need workers, right? Ford, 1 out of the 3. Is that like a double meaning? For months, we said that record profits mean record contracts, and the UAW family, our stand-up strike has delivered. He said that union leaders would seek to get the deal finalized over the weekend before approval from its members. Getting the deal ratified would be up to fate and the UAW leaders, and it is not assured. UAW workers at Mack Truck earlier this month rejected a proposed contracts agreed to by Fain. UAW workers at the company now called Stellantis rejected a proposal endorsed by the UAW leaders in 2015. The UAW's most recent move was to strike against each company's more profitable plants. Ford 1 out of the 3. Gotcha. I had to read it again. Sorry. Total economic losses from the UAW strike have reached $9.3 billion. The Anderson Economic Group said this week. If the contract is ratified by the UAW workers, it would set the standard for bargaining at the General Motors and Stellantis and expire in 2028. This lays the groundwork for the next 2 contracts, and they should fall in line fairly quickly because all 3 were in a narrow gap of each other, said Sam Fiorani, the Vice President of Global Vehicle Forecasting at the Auto Forecast Solutions. The strike so far has been painful for everybody, and knowing what it takes to get signed contracts should bring them to the table as much quicker. The 3 companies had no immediate comment. The union waged an unusual campaign of simultaneous strikes against the Detroit 3 automakers, demanding a 40% wage hike, including a 20% immediate increase and improvements in benefits, as well as covering EV battery plant workers under union agreements. So I think they're getting ready for that. I think they're getting ready for that. The automakers have argued that the UAW's demands will significantly raise costs and hobble their electric vehicle ambitions, putting them at disadvantage when compared with Tesla and foreign brands such as Toyota, which are non-unionized. Rather than hammer the blow of a mass walkout, it has wielded historically, UAW has played the companies against each other, using repeats and expansion of work stoppages as encouragement. Yes, but EVs are vastly simpler to assemble and don't need the existing automotive infrastructure. What they need now is software engineers and programmers. Gotcha. Well, there you have it. Congratulations to the UAW making steps. We'll see what happens. What is the makeup of this? But hey, unions get the goods, folks. Gotta go. See y'all. Don't worry, we're checking out right now. Folks, it is time. Thank you guys for joining. I appreciate it. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the subscriptions, the biddies, everything. Thank you guys. You guys are what makes this channel grow. If you guys want to support the channel but cannot do so monetarily, please make sure to go to the YouTubes and hit the big red subscribe button. It really does help us out. Spread the word. Bring a friend. We're here Monday to Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, folks, thank you. Also, thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Heat. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Sorry, 1 second. See you guys in the next one. Monday. We'll see if there's a stream on Monday. We'll have to take a look at that. We'll have to take a look at that because Monday and Tuesday are off days. But as always, I'll post anything on the Discord. Thank you guys so much. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Hang tight, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.